I think the first insight we've had, which has been some general theme, has really been about creative and how a lack of creative is still impacting the industry. How publishers are now essentially pushing back and need to push back and have to take more ownership of that. And it's something that basically the industry needs to drive from both sides. Secondly, I think it's really a case of moving on from the creative pieces, again, taking into consideration the consumer. Too much has been made, I think, of the technology, which obviously we're a technology company, but perhaps the technology companies and the content creators haven't really been considering the needs of the consumer, and therefore happy to accept creative that is not credible or not relevant, and so therefore it's been put on the page and they're taking the money but actually not thinking of the more long-term strategic impact that might have on the audience. The third point would be that whilst technology is underpinning everything, it's not the be-all and end-all, and again it's having the teams in place internally, and I think publishers are struggling with understanding what type of people they need to have, where they find those people from, and then how they integrate those into their business. I think the publishers are now considering, but not necessarily using it day to day in terms of a platform. I think we're still potentially seen as a pure SSP, and whilst yes we sit in that space, I think the shift to understanding what marketing automation is, and also this year's theme on terms of analytics and how we use analytics and getting ahead of real time, I think will take a bit of time to sink in, but there's definitely a need and a want to understand that in the way that people can use that to basically monetize better, more efficiently with the audiences that they have. So there's definitely a step change from last year, and I think the audience are willing to accept and move on, but whether they're doing that day to day is a different question. I think the biggest problem that they have is that they're not necessarily still speaking to each other. There's demand and supply, and there always has been demand and supply, and then there's technology sits in the middle. And I think a number of conversations today, a number of conversations that I've been involved in panels and in industry events, you still have the two distinct sides. And until the two really sit down together and understand what the problems are, whether they be viewability, whether they be ad blocking, whether they be just not very good creatives, until the two sit down and really type of knock that out together in terms of coming up with a solution, there's still going to be a sort of them and us on either side. And so they need to build that collaboration, because at the end of the day, demand and supply need to work in tune. The demand needs that audience, and that audience is of appeal to the demand side. And so they need just to be more collaborative, and there's a lot of chat today about wanting to do that. It's a question of providing forums or discussion groups that will allow the industry to move ahead.